Okay.
I didn't get to talk about the large intestine yesterday. This is on page 426. This is the large intestine. It's also called your colon. Can y'all pull the back lines for me just so we can get a little more light? Can you do that for me there, Dave? Preach. It's your penalty for sitting in the back. Pull them all the way up. Yeah. Little more. Keep coming. Keep coming. There, thanks. All right. This is, here's your appendix. Your appendix is a little piece that hangs off of the large intestine that really doesn't have much of a function. The appendix was huge in our leaf-eating ancestors, the monkeys, and it's not called the appendix. It's called the cecum, and it's as big as the entire large intestine. But over the course of evolution, it gets smaller and smaller. It's smaller in apes. It's even smaller in humans. And since we're not leaf eaters, we don't need it. It was for breaking down leaf material. So that's what's left of it. We call that a vestigial structure in biology. Kind of what it's an evolutionary hangover from years gone by. This is the ileum. That's the part of the small intestine. So the food leaves the small intestine and goes into the large intestine here. This first part of the large intestine goes up. It's called the ascending colon. And then there's a part that goes across called the transverse colon. And then there's a part that goes down called the descending colon. And then there's kind of an S-shaped part called the sigmoid colon. And then there's the rectum. Rectum darn near killed him. It's a proctology joke. And then the anus is where the waste comes out. You have two muscles that, when they contract, they close up like that. They're called sphincter muscles. You've probably heard of the anal sphincter. And they open and close. Normally they're closed, holding the contents in. But if you suddenly get scared, they might relax.
Can I go to the bathroom?
And then it comes out. You may have heard of a colonoscope or a sigmoidoscope. If you go for a colonoscopy, they take a camera and they shove it up your butt here. And it's on a little wire, and so they can push it on up here and look at the inside of the colon. They make you take laxatives before they do that, so you crap everything out so there's nothing in there, so they can see really well. And you aren't allowed to eat a day before your examination. That's something you have to look forward to when you get old.
Yay.
What a drag it is getting old. Having a sigmoidoscope stuck up your butt. So, often you get cancers. Old people get cancers up here. They get parts of the large intestine start growing together or have growths, or there's all sorts of problems. And like I said before, there are bacteria all up in here in the large intestine. And those bacteria are helpful bacteria. They eat some of the stuff that you can't digest. And in exchange, they give us vitamins. Does anyone know the vitamins that they give us?
B and K.
Vitamins B and K. Because Burger King gives you diarrhea. That's how you remember it. B and K are the vitamins. So we like to have these bacteria up here. The bacteria produce waste gases when they eat. And those waste gases are the gas. You hear about somebody having bad gas. Well, that's the gas produced by all these bacteria up here. And there's only one way out for that gas, through the anus. So that's what fart gas is. Y'all like fart jokes, right?
I sure do.
TV has a lot of them. Okay, so anyway, that's the large intestine. That's the colon. And basically the job of the colon is to take the water out of the waste so that you aren't releasing a lot of water. Of course, when you're sick, your body will push the waste through real fast, and you don't have time to absorb back all the water. That's what diarrhea is. Your body's trying to get rid of everything in its digestive system, so it pushes it through so fast that you can't get rid of it. Can't take back all the water. You can die from really bad diarrhea because you basically lose all your water. Any water that you drink just goes right through your system, comes out your butt, and you don't absorb any of it. And people with real bad diarrhea can often die. It often happens in children. You see it in a lot of these poorer countries that have dirty water and a lot of bacteria in their water, and those bacteria can cause really bad poisoning of your digestive system, really bad diarrhea. Here's where they've given somebody some dye that shows up on an x-ray so they can see the inside of the colon without going in there. And that's what it looks like under the x-rays. And here I told you about the sphincter muscles. This red area, this is muscle tissue. External anal sphincter is this muscle tissue. Internal anal sphincter is this muscle tissue. So, questions about the colon? There's an area of the reading about nutrition and stuff. That's everything I was just clicking past. You're not responsible for that in this class. You don't have to read past 15.11 for the test. Past 15.10. Okay? Stop at 15.11. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
You were supposed to learn about all those, all that nutrition stuff in your health class, and in biology we do some of it. So I'm not going to do it here in anatomy. We do the clinical terms, which start on page 437. So, I'll just read these to you, and again, for all these terms, try and memorize them as best you can right now. Don't say, I'm going to ignore this and text my buddies or study some other thing here.
447?
Page 437. Try and look at these words and memorize them now. Remember, they're multiple choice on the tests. So as long as you kind of have a pretty good memory of it, you should be able to get them right. Achalasia. Failure of the smooth muscle to relax at some junction in the digestive tube, such as between the esophagus and the stomach. So this is not relaxing. And what you swallow is not able to get in the stomach. That's called achalasia. That's no good. Achlorhydria. Lack of achlorhydria. Lack of hydrochloric acid in gastric secretions. So if you don't have acid in your stomach, that's not killing the bacteria in the food. It's not letting the pepsin, which is an enzyme in the stomach, work. That could be bad for you. I don't know why I have that picture associated with it. I guess it causes your stomach to hurt. Aphasia, an inability to swallow. People with aphasia can't swallow for whatever reason. Often you have to be fed through a tube or something when you can't swallow. Cachexia, state of chronic malnutrition and physical wasting. Cachexia. Not eating enough. Cholecystitis, inflammation of the gallbladder. As the gallbladder has become inflamed. Usually it's because there's stones in there. Cholecystitis. And then there's cholelithiasis, stones in the gallbladder, which is related. And cholestasis, blockage of bile flow from the gallbladder. So cholecystitis, cholelithiasis, and cholestasis are all gallbladder problems. So when you see chole, we're talking about the gallbladder. And it's usually because a stone gets stuck, so the bile can't be released, and it causes pain. Cirrhosis, condition in which liver cells degenerate and the surrounding connective tissues thicken. Cirrhosis of the liver. That happens in alcoholics. You drink a lot, your liver ends up hardening up, becoming diseased and not working, and then it'll end up killing you. It's too bad. Diverticulitis, inflammation of small pouches, diverticula, that form in the lining and wall of the colon. Here's a normal looking colon on the left, and look at this colon on the right that has diverticulitis. Little pouches that form all over the intestine there. Often that can get painful and infected. There's all sorts of problems that can result. Doctors often have to go out there and cut out these diverticula, these little growths on the large intestine. Dumping syndrome. This doesn't sound too good. Symptoms including diarrhea that often occur following a gastrectomy. A gastrectomy is an operation where they make the stomach, look what they've done here. They've bypassed the stomach. There's the stomach and some of the small intestine, and it looks like they've bypassed that. And cut off some of the stomach and pull up some of the small intestine. And a lot of people, that's a gastric bypass surgery. Some people get that to try to lose weight. People who are really just crazy overweight. Look how small the stomach is now. It's not real big like it used to be. And that can cause all kinds of problems. That's a last resort for people whose weight is killing them. But anyway, if you have a smaller stomach, you get full faster, you lose weight. But look at all these symptoms. Dumping syndrome is a collection of those symptoms. Dysentery, intestinal infection by viruses, bacteria, or protozoans that cause diarrhea and cramps. If you got a lot of bacteria that get in your stomach, into your intestine, that can cause dysentery. Have you ever heard of amoebic dysentery? That's one of the big killers of children around the world. In places where they don't have clean water. We have clean water here in the United States for the most part. You know what we do to make our water clean? Anyone know? The water that comes out of your faucet has something in it. It has chlorine. It also has some fluoride in it for your teeth, you're right. It has chlorine, and chlorine kills... Chlorine is what they put in your pool, you know, to make it clean. Kill all the bacteria in there. So algae and bacteria aren't growing in your pool. That's the, it burns your eyes if there's too much of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about now? Smell it. There's some of it in your tap water, and that keeps your water clean of all these bacteria. If you drink water that has a bunch of amoebas in it, you'll get amoebic dysentery. Dyspepsia, difficulty in swallowing. Dyspepsia, indigestion, difficulty in digesting. You've probably had indigestion before. That's dyspepsia. Especially if you eat a whole lot. Dysphagia, difficulty in swallowing. So we had, at the beginning, we had aphagia, inability to swallow. Dysphagia is difficulty in swallowing. So phagia must mean swallowing. Enteritis is inflammation of the intestine. Enteritis. So there we have some sort of infection or obstruction, and it's swollen in the intestine. It's enteritis. Anytime you see itis on the end of something, that's an infection, usually caused by bacteria. Esophagitis, inflammation of the esophagus. There, he's got an ulcer there in his esophagus. That's probably caused from some of the stomach contents pushed upward, coming back. That little valve not closing all the way. It burns the esophagus. Here's a gastrectomy. It's where they cut out part of the stomach. Partial or complete removal of the stomach. Again, that's often done to help you lose weight. So they remove the part within the blue dots there. Surgeon goes in, cuts that out, attaches the two together, the two ends together. Gastrostomy. Creation of an opening in the stomach wall through which food and liquids can be administered when swallowing is not possible. There's a movie I have up for rental in psychology. It's called Thin. And they show this girl who's anorexic. She won't eat. So they go in there and put a tube in her stomach and put food in there to get her, to make sure she doesn't die.
Sometimes she stops the food and tries to get the food to come back up.
Yeah, she figured out a way to get the food to come out through the tube by squeezing it or something. Disgusting. Glossitis, inflammation of the tongue. That's an inflamed tongue. I'm not sure why. Some kind of bacterial infection. Probably not good. Hyperalimentation. Long-term intravenous nutrition. See, he's got the 4 basic food groups. That's a joke. If you have to be fed intravenously for a long time, that's hyper, means above. Alimentation means feeding. Ileitis, inflammation of the ileum. The ileum is, remember DJ ill? Duodenum, jejunum, ileum. The ileum is the last part of the small intestine. And if it's inflamed, that's ileitis. And that's pretty easy. Itis means inflammation. Once you learn that, you got it. Pharyngitis. You tell me what that is. Inflammation of the pharynx. Do it now, okay? You're on your way to becoming a doctor. That's what it looks like. Often happens when you're sick. Does the doctor ever look down your throat with a little light? That's what he's looking for. Wow. Polyphagia, overeating. Remember, phagia meaning swallow, over swallowing. Polyphagia, mini swallowing is what that means in Latin.
This picture makes me happy. This would look on the website. He's just so overjoyed.
Pyloric stenosis. Congenital obstruction at the pyloric sphincter due to an enlarged pyloric muscle. So this is your pyloric sphincter. And it keeps food in the stomach, and then it opens every once in a while to let food out of the stomach. So pyloric stenosis is when the pyloric sphincter, the pyloric muscle is too large and obstructs the release of food into the small intestine. Not good. Pylorospasm. Spasm of the pyloric portion of the stomach or of the pyloric sphincter. So again, the stomach has regions to it. This is the pyloric part of the stomach. And if it spasms, that means the muscles around it are contracting a lot. Or if the pyloric sphincter is contracting back and forth, it's a flutter that isn't good for digestion. I don't know what that picture is. Pyorrhea, inflammation of the dental periosteum with pus formation. Oh my gosh, look at those teeth. It's not good. So the area around the bones that hold your teeth in place is diseased. Must be infected. That's why you brush your teeth. Finally, stomatitis, inflammation of the lining of the mouth. This person's got a bunch of ulcers in their mouth. It usually comes from too much bacteria in there, some sort of bacterial infection. So those are the major diseases of the digestive system. If you become a doctor, you get rid of all that stuff. I have a little video for you here.
Yay.
Showing food poisoning.
Yes.
Whoops, that's not it.
There
This is it.
it is.
Do you want me to film this